Betrothal. Since Friday, you have listened, written, and shared about several themes that are essential for a happy, healthy marriage. Communications, values, family decisions, intimacy, marriage as a sacrament. Is there still more? Yes, there's always room for more to deepen our relationship, to grow as God had created us to be more patient, more understanding, more loving. Thank you for your commitment to each other during this long weekend. This presentation called Betrothal. It's about looking deeper where you are in your preparation, understanding, and commitment for the sacrament of marriage. This is a very special presentation and time for both of you. This is when you will be writing totally from your heart. Please listen to the presenters. Pray before you write from your heart. Take the full time. Respect each other for the time they need. Silence is good and essential at this writing. This is your gift to each other. Call to love. For one human being to love another, that is perhaps the most difficult of all our tasks. The ultimate, the last test and proof. The work for which all other work is but a preparation. Blessing on your journey of writing and listening and being who you are.
So you came this weekend because you're engaged. But today we want to talk about a deeper commitment, betrothal. The whole process of getting engaged and getting married is actually based on the Jewish customs called kiddushin, meaning sanctification, which was the betrothal ceremony, and nishuin chuppah, which was the actual marriage ceremony in itself. Kiddushin was seen as so binding that couples would need a divorce if they wanted to sever ties with their partner. Our definition of betrothal is slightly different, but still carries the same weight. It is the time of preparation for the sacrament of matrimony.
So we want you to think back to the themes that we've been talking about over these talks. How the families we grew up in affect our relationship now, the importance of communication, the things we value or would sacrifice something to make happen, how intimacy with each other mirrors God's love for us, and the holy responsibility of becoming a sacrament. So during this time now, reflecting on those ideas, you make a pledge to each other to work on deepening your faith, recognizing God's role in your relationship, and working to become a sacrament. So with all this in mind, you have to ask yourself, are you engaged to get married, or are you betrothed to become a sacrament? In other words, are you simply planning for a wedding, or are you planning for a lifelong commitment to God and your partner?
When we first got engaged, we started planning our wedding day, much like you are right now. Each day we were faced with the tasks of finding the right DJ, reception halls, and guest lists, color patterns, and themes, and I had no idea that weddings had color patterns and themes.
It's true.
Yeah. We went to the wedding reception hall, and I was like, what's the color? Well, it's white. They have white sheets. And my wife's like, what's the theme? I'm like, we're getting married. That's a theme, Anyways, okay, I'll stop. So we did all that planning because that's what engaging couples do. But when it came to engage encounter, which really should be called betrothal planning, we saw all this wedding preparation was superficial and dealt with only one day in our lives. It was here that we learned about the betrothal, which was not only helped us refocus on why we were getting married, but helped us prepare to live a married life under the eyes of God.
The first step of the betrothal process is to make a pledge. This pledge is a promise to your partner on how you will make your lifelong commitment true. When we wrote our betrothal pledge, it called on us to reflect on why we chose to marry within the church. It made us consider how we prepare for this lifetime commitment of becoming a sacrament. And it let us think about how we as a couple would develop our relationships within a church community. So, writing the betrothal pledge, I wrote down a lot of things I figured Marc already knew, but I wasn't sure. Did he know that why I thought he was wonderful and the perfect fit for me? Did he know how I knew that God brought us together? Did he know my plans to love him unconditionally for the rest of our lives? Writing the pledge, I was able to make these commitments come to life. And now, having written down, we can go back to our pledges and remember what brought us to this relationship in the first place and where we want to take it.
As for me, I knew I loved Zanna, but it was not until I put pen to paper that I was really able to put my feelings into words. And so, not to sound corny or self-serving, but it really was engagement counter that helped me find those words. When I was done writing, I could see in my own handwriting how strong my commitment was to Zanna and how God was such an integral part in our relationship. So, the betrothal pledge. How do you write this thing? Remember that this is a pledge and not just a love letter, and it's not just a cute little text you send to your partner. This is a pledge. It's a promise of how you will prepare your relationship with each other and with God under the sacrament of marriage. So where to start? The first is a bit obvious. To focus on the good qualities of your fiancé. You're in love, you're engaged, you're watching, so this part shouldn't be hard, hopefully. What is it about your partner that makes you want to spend the rest of your life with them? Now, the next thing you want to do and to add, and this is important, because this is what's going to separate your betrothal pledge from just any other love letter. It's here that you will talk about your future, of how you'll continually deepen your relationship in things like communication and openness, trust, willingness to be life-giving, shared values, intimacy, and what it means to be a sacrament. Most importantly, how you'll integrate God and faith in your relationship and marriage.
So let's say you can't write this betrothal pledge. Maybe you feel you're just not ready to take this next step. Maybe something came up in one of our talks. Whatever it is, the most important thing is to be honest. The point of Engagement Counter is not to convince people to get married, but to make sure that people are prepared to make this lifelong decision. Like we said before, marriage is not a light decision. This is a serious commitment that involves your entire heart and soul. We just want to make sure that you're ready for it. So if the time isn't right for a betrothal pledge, that's fine, but we still want you to use this time to write. You must be open not only to your partner, but to yourself. What are your reluctances and fears? Write them down. Share why you want to delay or even reconsider your engagement. Write ways you and your partner can rebuild and refocus your relationship to help you move toward a sacramental marriage. So in a few minutes, you're going to have time to write your own betrothals, but first, to give you an example of what we just talked about, we'd like to read our own, and to show you how much our betrothals meant to us, we still have the original workbook and notebook from that we used on our weekend over 11 years?
Something like that.
Ago? Yeah.
Okay.
So, dear Mark, I'm not all that great at writing these things under pressure either, but here goes. It has never ceased to amaze me how I think I know you and how I feel like I couldn't possibly love you any more than I do now. And then you reveal a new bit of yourself and I find myself falling deeper in love with you. You are an amazing, gentle, considerate, funny man, and I feel so blessed to be with you. I know we have some differences and some sticking areas, but I know by striving to love each other and work through them, we will only be stronger. Because of our love, I pledge to love you fully and unconditionally, and to work on loving you the way that God made us to love each other. To always seek to understand your point of view, to choose to love you daily. To present our issues and differences to God, and to make decisions with we in mind instead of me. To support you no matter what, in difficult times and good, to always turn to God, and to remember our relationship is centered on Him. I pledge all this not only between now and our wedding day, but for the rest of our lives. You are my one and only Marc, and I am so excited to spend the rest of our lives together. Yay.
Okay. My turn. Okay. My dear Zanna, I can honestly tell you that if we have not met, my life would have been easier. I would still be in my beloved New York City, close to family, surrounded by friends with an active social life. But I know that God never wants us to take the easy path. God has a higher calling for all of us, so God has brought me to you. For years, I have lived in darkness, and I stumbled blind through life, reaching out for anything that gave me comfort and pushing away the things that may have helped. God came in flashes like fireflies, and I would chase it and fall only to go back in circles, back to the darkness I was so used to. When you came to my life, you too were a flash of God's light and love, and I chased it, but this time I did not fall. This time, the light, which was you, stayed in place. As my love for you grew, so did your light and love, and I knew that this was meant to be. You are not my savior. Only God can be. But you have given me strength where I hobble. You have given me a light to help me, guide me through the darkness. My world will never be the same. I told you New York City is no longer my home. You are. Wherever you are is my home. You have more love, patience, and understanding than anyone I have ever met. You are beautiful, graceful, and full of life. I cannot possibly comprehend a world without you, and yet I still can't believe how such an amazing person could love me. If we never met, life would have been easier, but without joy, and I'd still be stumbling. Since God brought me to you, I have been joyous. Though life has been tough lately, your mere presence lifts me up. I feel I've been wakened from a deep sleep and still rubbing my eyes at the light of the day, eager to take on the challenges of life. Zanna, as your future husband, I pledge to always love you, to always be there, and to always pray and point you back to God when the world seems chaotic. You'll always have my heart and love. It'll be there as we grow old. It'll be there when we leave this earth. It'll be there when the stars die out, the sun fades away, and only the heavens remain. I promise to do all that I can to be the husband that you deserve. I will strive to improve myself and be the best father I can to our children and son to your mother. My love for God and you will always take priority as I give you all that I am and embrace all that you give. Love you. Okay, sorry for that corniness. Okay, so out of all the talks and all the writing times, this is your longest writing times. So we encourage you to take the entire 30 minutes to write. No cell phones, nothing to distract you, and just wait quietly until your partner's done.
One of the things that Mark and I did to open ourselves up to what God was telling us to say was to say a silent prayer before starting writing. But most importantly, remember to write from your heart.
All right. God bless.
Bam, Gizmo.